Welcome back, crafty cuties. Today I'm going to work on the cover of my 2019 junk journal. I have this adorable vintage children's book page, and I wanted to use that image because it represents a brother and sister, and I'm super excited. I've been hoarding this for a while now. So I already had an idea in mind. I'm going to use my Tim Holtz collage paper to cover this craft frame that I have, kind of like decoupage. I am going to kind of decoupage this collage paper on, just really simple though. So I'm just going ahead and ripping off a piece that will be big enough, and I'm actually just going to use my Tombow Mono Aqua Glue that I use for everything. A lot of people will use something like Mod Podge or, different glues for decoupage, but this glue, honestly, yeah, it works for everything. So I'm just going to start with one side of it. Sorry if you hear little kids' toys in the background. Are those awake playing right next to me? I've been trying to do this voiceover for a while. So anyways, I just put glue on half of the frame, and I'm just going to lay this collage paper straight onto it. And you'll see as we get into it that I'm going to, of course, tear the excess off and wrap it around. And I'm going to do it kind of messy. I don't mind if there are wrinkles in it at all. And I will even actually layer some of the papers on in spots that I wanted to be maybe a little more opaque. But this is really simple. I just made sure that there was glue on the edges and the back. I'm not really worried about what the back looks like either. I really honestly just kind of gather the paper back there just to get it around. I don't care about the back at all. So as you can see, there's this spot that's a little bare, and I think some of the paper even ripped off. So that's an easy fix. I'm just going to take another piece of that collage paper, a little scrap that I had, and just place it right over the top. It layers really well. If you haven't played with these Tim Holtz collage papers, you definitely should. Super fun for art journals or, just all kinds of projects. And again, I have some spots that weren't necessarily bare, but they weren't as opaque as I liked, or maybe I didn't like the color, how it looked. We do have a pretty small surface here, so you can't really see a lot of this picture, which is, there's just a lot of botanical images on here. You can't really see those, but I like how the colors look all together. So I'm just going to continue doing this for a while. And I think I'm going to speed things up here in a moment. But yes, here we go. So once that was done, I let it dry almost all the way. You should probably let it dry before doing this. I'm using some of my Distress Oxide ink, which is kind of like a chalky ink. And I'm going to go ahead and smudge that all around the edges. I wanted something to kind of, lighten it up a bit. I don't really know. I just wanted some color around the edges. I just wanted it to look more finished. It is a little hard to see on camera what it looks like, but I am so glad that I did this because I think it ended up really making it look finished. And at first I was going to use a brown color to maybe make it look more distressed, and I think that would have looked really good. But the picture I'm using is a little bit dark, and it's like dark in a bluish kind of shadowy way. So I felt like this color was really going to kind of just tie into the picture as well. And I didn't want the decoupaging on the frame to be too overwhelming. So now I'm going to choose where exactly I want to cut. This took me a while, guys. I actually shut the camera off a few times trying to figure it out. I wanted a bigger frame because that whole picture of the little boy and girl standing would have been gorgeous, but it actually would have been too big for my journal. And I thought that having it in the frame was perfect. So I played around with it for a bit and got the perfect little crop that I wanted. Arla is playing with her voice in the background here. And I'm just going to use my pen, and I just traced around it and then cut it out. I'm going to go ahead and just glue this on the back so you can see the back of that frame is really messy, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be glued down. So I added a generous amount of glue. Since this is going on the cover of a journal, it's going to be around for years and years. It's going to be coming in and out of bookshelves or wherever I have it, and I just wanted to make sure that everything is good to go. And one little thing to keep in mind, if you use Distress Oxide ink, it's not a permanent ink. So you're going to see what I do to fix that in just a moment, because I do want this to be something, again, that lasts for a long time. Just setting this up perfectly over that picture, and I like it so much. I really think, see, if you can't tell, or I think you can, the little girl has a flower headband. The little boy was holding a bouquet of flowers, which I wish you could have saw, but that's okay. And so I think that floral frame just ties in really well. I'm going to use my Wink of Stella. If you can see, it's a really shimmery kind of wow, she is so dramatic, you guys. She's sneezing, and I just wish she is the most dramatic baby I have ever met. Okay, so I'm going to use that Wink of Stella all over the frame. I'm trying to show you how pretty it is, but you almost have to see it in person. It is so shimmery, but it's like a clear shimmer. So I put that all over the top. Now this is a water-based product, so again, if it gets wet or anything, it does get ruined, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And it is moving around that ink a little bit that I had. I'm even going to use some of this on the photo, on the image here. And I tested it out on her headband first, because since that was very vintage paper, I just wanted to make sure it didn't do anything weird. I'm going to use this medium matte, what's it called? Medium matte, maybe that's all it is. Anyways, this is going to make everything permanent, or at least lock everything in. That's the experience I've had using it. It's kind of like a Mod Podge, I guess, but I feel like it's a little more heavy duty in a way. And I'm actually just going to paint that over the picture. Now, I used a paintbrush because I actually wanted paint strokes. And in person, this ended up looking so cool. It actually kind of looked like it was on a canvas, I guess, or like painted, because you can see brush strokes. So if you don't want that, you can use something like a sponge or your finger or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and just paint that all over that image. Again, I want to protect it, and the paper was super fragile by itself, so this is going to help. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same and paint that over the frame. So here we go. I let it dry. Love how it looks. And now I have to figure out how it's going to tie into my cover here. Now, I felt like it didn't match exactly. It didn't flow together with that fabric, but I wanted to make it work. And I mean, that was my plan. I was going to make it work. So I'm really just going to play around a bit here. I kind of wanted to use this little die cut that says Adventures. I felt like that really just kind of set the tone for what I wanted this junk journal to be. It's going to be about our adventures in 2019. And I feel like it also goes along with the image here. So yeah, I'm just going to play around a bit with placement. Once I was happy with that, I decided that I wanted to add some of my pistachio ink to the edge of that Adventures die cut. A lot of times I don't necessarily have things match in my junk journaling and my journals, but I do like things to flow as good as possible. And so I think when you have like two different elements that don't necessarily match, if you use something to tie them together, like the same ink or the same, I don't know, just like something that ties them in together that matches, that helps. I explain myself really weird because Arlo's giving me the cutest smile here. She's making me lose my train of thought. Hi, baby girl. She's getting so big, you guys. So anyways, I really wanted to use this little button, but it just didn't work. And sometimes you just got to let go of an idea that you had. I pulled this wallpaper out of my stash. It's a Tim Holtz wallpaper, and it's something I've been wanting to use for a while. And so I'm going to cut that down and create a pocket. So I didn't like how that frame looked just right on top of the fabric of the journal. So I wanted to, add something in between so that it looked a little bit better. So I thought I like having tags on the fronts of journals so that you can put like a little title in there or whatever, or a little hidden message if you want. So I cut this down, not to any specific size. I literally just cut it down to be a little bit bigger than the frame. And I'm going to use my ink again so that it all ties in together, and just go ahead and smudge that around the edges of this wallpaper. And then I went ahead off camera, I cut a second piece of cardstock that was exactly the same size of this wallpaper so that we can make a pocket. So you'll see in a moment here, I'm going to sew those together. And I used a pretty heavy duty cardstock because, like I said, that vintage book page was not super, I mean, it's really old, so it's pretty fragile. So I wanted to create this pocket as kind of a base behind the picture so that nothing's going to get tore. As you can see, I am cutting down a manila tag. That's what I'm going to place inside the pocket on the front of the journal. I just wanted to use something that I already had in my stash, so I'm using my Tim Holtz trimmer here to trim this down, as it was way too big to go in that pocket. Once again, using that same ink around the edges, and I found some pretty washi tape to put on the top of that tag so that tag peeks out, you can see that washi tape. And then I'm going to use some gorgeous lace that came in some Happy Mail from a friend for the little topper of the tag. One of my favorite things to do with tags is to add a few different laces or trims and create a little tassel. I didn't do it here, but that's kind of a fun way to add some texture to your projects. So I just make sure that it fits in my pocket, and then I'm going to use a good amount of glue. I noticed that on the back here, this image was so cute too. I wished that I had scanned that. Like, oh, what a bummer. I could have, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the copyright was on the book, but either way, I probably could have scanned it and used it for my own personal use. Darn it. So I'm going to use a good amount of glue again, because we are gluing paper down to fabric. I've never had an issue with this. I've never, at least using the glue that I do, I've never had paper come up off of fabric using this glue, so that's why I stick to it, because it works for everything. Here we go, guys. Here's the finished look. I love how it turned out. Like, I'm so in love with this. I'm so excited to use this journal and share different layouts with you guys. I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.